we look, Kenya has missed out on an opportunity to host the African Medicine Agency headquarters following delays in concluding the ratification process on an African Union treaty. An executive council meeting in Lusaka picked Rwanda to host the newly established agency of the AU, expected to contribute towards improved regulation, that is regulation of medicine, medical products and technologies. Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Rachel Omamo in May wrote to the Parliament for approval of Kenya's ratification of AU's treaty for the establishment of the Africa Medical Agency, meaning that the country failed to meet the June bidding deadline. The National Assembly was invited to consider and approve Kenya's ratification of the African Union Treaty for the establishment of the African Medicine Agency. This is what Omamo said. And we're talking about this particular agency, what it will have done for this country, because of dead hand of bureaucracy, and we don't really pay attention to, you know, such opportunities when they show up. Now this has gone to Rwanda. Particular.
I don't know what to say. When you go into that august house and you ask what are their priorities in terms of this country, that is the kind of mismatch that you get, right? Ratifying protocols that would be of benefit to this country, forget about even just hosting it. We were going to bid against several countries.
Yes.
We may not have got it. But the fact that there is this Pan-African initiative to try and sort of work around the medicines and medical area is great. And we should have ratified it. We should see what are the good things that this country can benefit from by collaborating internationally. I'll give you an example of something that we started here in Kenya. We had, this is in KEPSA, we started off with all the people in the various medical fields used to bicker. So when you talk about how good is tobacco, should you ban it? The doctors had a view, the pharmacists had a view, and all the rest of them. And within the medical circles, you could not get an opinion out of it. So we formed, we tried to get all these associations that are medical together. So we formed the Kenya Healthcare Network. They came together and they started talking to each other. That organization then bred the East African one. And currently we have an Africa Healthcare Network where the medical people are getting together to discuss common problems that can work together on that. And that particular ratification would have created exactly the same thing at the policy level. That's what it was doing. And being able to now put it together, the thinking across Africa around medical policy, that's a no-brainer. But when you go to the august house, the priorities are completely skewed. And I think there needs to be an organization, I'm sure it exists, that allows the august house to be able to prioritize things in a rational way. I'm not sure how it happens at the moment. Right? But we've lost an opportunity, and that is not the only one. Yet there are others that we go ahead and ratify immediately. And those ones are not the ones that might benefit us in the short term. So Bilo maybe might be able to help us on that one.
No, I think we
need to be able to do that.
It depends on whether the Ministry of Foreign Minister, most of those kind of documents are prioritized by the ministry and submitted to Parliament. So I think it goes through Cabinet, and so forth. So I won't know at what stage probably, but those kind of documents, when they come to Parliament, it's just an adoption really, because there isn't much. You're not legislating anything, so it doesn't take long. So I think, I don't know at what stage maybe the government did not submit it to Parliament for approval. I won't know, but it should be straightforward. I mean, institutions like that are not something that we should have lost. So I think there are protocols, there are a lot of those kind of things that sometimes don't find their way into Parliament for one reason or the other. Government slows down on them. They have other I think competing probably reasons, other reasons maybe that for one reason or another the government is not keen on getting them, ratified or the protocol signed or something. So I don't know. I won't know. But the parliament should normally, when those kind of thing comes, depending on the agency, how government operates.
Yeah.
Through the majority leader, if these things come to the house and it's of priority, then they get done. But if the government is not keen on it, then it probably even won't find its way into parliament.
All right.
But beyond that, there's something I've always wanted. And then the bill is here. You have these guys when they're running for office. Very bright ideas, very good. You have lawyers, you have doctors, until they go to parliament. And I've always wondered, Patrick, I don't know, until they go to parliament, whether it's a pill called stupid that they take, that they do some of the dumbest things when they go to parliament. That I don't understand. And when they're out here, they're absolutely fantastic. You sit down with them, you're having policy discussions, you're having all this. But when it goes to parliament, I don't know whether it's the appeal that these guys are given, that all of a sudden, all those insights that they have when they're out here, they disappear totally.
You get sucked into this vortex called the hard mentality. That is the biggest thing called stupid that you're trying to profile. Yeah.
No, but you see, I tend to think that the problem very often is not with Parliament. It could be. But I think very often, you see, we have individuals who put themselves before Kenya. And Moses Changwoni is a man I know. He's a very good agriculturalist. He was going to develop the whole thing of the Tana River. He said, well, look, we can't do this on our own. We're going to get a Swiss company to come and do it with us. So he brought them here. The managing director went to see the CS for agriculture. This was not the most recent CS. It was some years ago. The fellow, where is my $1 million? They never heard anything more from that particular Swiss company. I know a contractor, he went to Kilifi, let me mention the county. He said, look, I've come to do low-cost housing here. And the governor said, okay, well, you begin by giving me 1 million shillings. He just walked out the door. And this has happened time and time and time again. And, when, for example, Microsoft were excluded from South Africa, they said, we're going open source. Microsoft ran to Kenya, ran to Nigeria, and told the people in government, look, we're going to give you this free. We will give all the primary schools and secondary schools Microsoft free of charge. And if you now ask me to actually start accessing the internet using open source, I can't do it. I'm absolutely, I have to use Microsoft. So the point is really that, but it is individuals very often. And, Qatar came to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. We want to make this the African hub. I don't know what happened, but they're in Rwanda. And I remember coming out of Rwanda with a Kenyan. We were sitting together in early 2006. And as we took off from Rwanda, Kigali Airport, this man leant over to me. He said, look, Jim, if we're not careful, these people are going to take over Kenya's position. And we're now seeing that. And it is, individuals who are benefiting at the expense of Kenya. Because don't forget, you can grow tea in Rwanda as well as in Kenya. People want to try to destroy the tea industry here. You can grow tea in southern Tanzania, you can grow tea in Malawi. But, people are not thinking about the future of Kenya. They're just thinking, okay, well, I need to get elected. And, for example, if you have hand-picking of tea, you're losing money. You've got to mechanize that process. But now this is a big issue. And, and people, and there's a certain gentleman, he is, I think he even is a doctor, Atwoli, okay? Very, very learned man. Who's he thinking about? Well, go down to Kajiado and have a look. See what's there. So, we are just thinking about ourselves and we're not thinking about the future of Kenya.
And exactly, we lost to Aliko Dangote as well. Yeah, he wanted to put a cement factory here.
Correct.
What really happened? The same story about corruption, and he elected to actually put it up in Tanzania.
It is true. We see in KEPSA, we have a big frustration People come to us about they want to set stuff in Kenya, and they're invited to join this gravy train, right? And they're globally, that is something that nobody is going to touch. And you're finding a lot of investments are being diverted to other parts of Africa because of what we're doing in this country. So this disease, the sea disease that the Prof is talking about, is probably our biggest. It's the biggest thing, is our Achilles heel as a country, right? And the Dangotes of this world, I mean, if you look at, they invested in Tanzania.
Yes.
And look at what that impact had in Kenya. One company went down because of that, right? In fact, 2 companies have suffered as a result of Dangote doing that directly. And the cement industry in Kenya overall has had to readjust its thinking because of a big plant that Dangote set up in Tanzania, not in Kenya. And you look at people going to invest in Uganda and places like that, and they are not investing in Kenya. I'll give you an example. We went to visit the business park in Rwanda at the invitation of the Rwanda government. And we found a Chinese lady who had set up a garment factory in Rwanda. And they're exporting to the US. Now, think of a garment factory in Rwanda that has no cotton, has nothing at all. All they've got is an enabling policy. And this person is able to set up at the back end of the logistics chain, right? You go to get raw material into Rwanda, convert it and get it out. And if it's in Dar es Salaam or Mombasa, you've already got an advantage in terms of the logistics cost of there and back. And they could still manufacture cheaper than somebody in Dar es Salaam. Right? And it's all around the policy situation that every country has got in terms of getting people in and delivering on that policy. We have great policies in Kenya, but the people who are supposed to deliver those policies are the problem. So when you talk about people going into parliament and things changing, it's the same thing, right? The August House is supposed to be the one that helps this country deliver on policy. But individuals, when they go in that place, they see a different opportunity from the opportunity of serving Kenyans through creating right policies for this country. And that is our downfall, right? So it's not only about industry. I think in general, the opportunity of the right people creating the right policies and driving the right policies to create the right conditions in the country without personal gain.
Correct.
Without, in whatever it is, whether it is money, whether it is position, whether it is horse trading for politics, whatever it is, without personal gain. That really is what is bringing this country down.
Thank you. Bill, you wanted to say something? I saw you, so that we can wind up on it. I think we've not looked at the business daily. We'll miss if you don't.
Prof, Kenyans are opportunists, driven by self-interest and driven by greed. And I think it's not only parliament, by the way. Anyone who goes to government, even in government, by the way, in the cabinet, you've seen. There are times when people have been hired from the top institutions in the world, World Bank, IMF, when they join government. After a few years, you've seen what happened to them. So I think, unfortunately, it's it's something that has become pervasive. This culture has become pervasive.
I think, lastly, and you're right.
And it needs to be read. But there's a story which I have never told for 1 minute. I just want you guys to know. In 2005, when the CPA, Comprehensive Peace Agreement, was signed in South Sudan, and so a delegation from South Sudan came and invited us. We were in the official opposition. So I remember I was the Shadow Finance Minister together with Uhuru was the chairman. About 3-4 of us were invited for a meeting in a hotel, and they gave us a presentation. There was a proposal for them to build a railway and a pipeline from Juba going through Songhai all the way to Mombasa. This is 2005. They have done all the studies, and it was going to cost about 3 billion euros. And part of that 2 billion would be on the side of Kenya from the border up to here, and then on their side 1 billion. They said, look, from our side we have already got the funding from some German consortium based on the future outflows of petroleum. And they wanted Kenya now to sign on to this so that then they can, because then they will recover most of Kenya will get most of their money from the investment through the charges they'll make on the pipeline and the railway and so forth. They said, we have gone to the government. It's 2005, and they are frustrated. They said now we are thinking of going and doing that thing through probably Uganda all the way to Dar es Salaam or through to the Atlantic. But since you guys are the official opposition, we thought it is an opportunity for us to share this with you. This was a delegation from South Sudan government. So that you guys know that we, as South Sudan, we've tried all this and we're getting frustrated. And they've been told, you want this, yes, before we sign on to anything, it's about who's going to do it, which company, and can we, that was the issue. And that if they are not going to get their interest, this was from, particularly from the minister at the time in charge of transportation and so forth, and all those things, that they were not going to sign on to it. So that thing ended up, you remember, now they've started another one called LAPSET. You know how much the cost of LAPSET was 5-6 years ago? They're talking of 25 billion. At that time, that same work was going for about 3 billion euros only.
And it's the same.
And today, I'm sure if that LAPSET starts, it will go to 100 billion because it's already taken. So I think the challenges we have of what the gentlemen have said regarding our rent-seeking behavior in government, in parliament, in all our institutions, it's a challenge that we have to deal with really at some point in our lives in this country. Otherwise, we'll lose a lot as a nation.
And I think going back to Jim Dibal, maybe we don't need democracy. We probably need strong leadership. Jim was talking about, but
we don't want to die.
I'm just echoing Jim's comment. No, Dibal, seriously, we are our worst enemies in this country. And I remember a few years back when I hosted the First Lady when I was at Mata. I was the CEO at Mata at that time. And we started discussing serious macroeconomic issues of this country. And one thing she told me that stuck in my mind, she said, Professor, we are our worst enemies. And I honestly do believe that. We are our worst enemies. This thing called corruption is killing this country slowly, is killing the future of this country slowly. And that's why the character of the people that we put in power is extremely important if we're going to fight corruption.
Thank you. All right, I know we're remaining with just a few minutes, but I wanted just to also broach what is on the front page of the Business Daily, where CBK is blocking interest-free Lipa na M-Pesa loan plan. We're talking about interests. We've seen this particular story happening since the beginning of the year, where CBK also has been seeking Safaricom to unbundle the M-Pesa, a part of it. And these are some of the challenges that are going through. When we're talking about incentivizing, the business environment to the policy, what will you make of this particular headlining story there?
I know you're looking at me, Adiba. And I'm going to be very careful what I say. Because we've got a very, very good government in the central bank in terms of the traditional ways that things work. But I think this is disruption beginning to hit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's the same way M-Pesa hit the banking business when it first came in. And fortunately, at the time when M-Pesa came in, we had two people who had very open minds at that time. We had Professor Dungu, who was the governor of the central bank, and Bitange Ndemo, who was sitting as the ICT minister. The two of them decided to say, how can we regulate something we don't really understand? And we don't know the dynamics of this thing, because it's brand new.
Yes.
And they said, hands off. And I was involved in some financial institutions at that time, and all of us were saying, kill it, right? Yes. Because it's going to disrupt our space. And look at what it has done. It has disrupted positively that space. Now, talking about 0% interest, all of a sudden is a disruption.
Yes.
Because our whole setup in this country is all around, we have to pay interest when you're working within the financial services. So here is somebody who comes up and says, I will charge 0 interest on a loan. Now people are saying, hey, we need to understand how this thing works and everything else. By the time you've understood that, the thing will have bolted to another place and be working elsewhere, and you're killing it. This is the kind of thing I would actually say, okay, let me watch it. Let it continue. I'm not going to license it. Neither am I going to deny it a license. Just watch it. And within a year, you will know how to regulate it, because you will understand how that animal is. In my view, the way that animal will operate is that whilst I'm offering you 0 interest, there's a lot of people who are going to jump into that space, right? And they've got to do the KYC, they're going to do everything in that process. So it's not a stupid thing. They're smart business people. they're going to get their money out of some other place where people are making money. So to belong to this family that is getting zero interest, if you're a supermarket, if you're so-and-so, if you're X, Y, and Z, you've got to pay a belonging fee, a commission of some kind. That's how they make their money. And the person who is out there is benefiting from free interest. That is a disruptor. And if it is my personal thing, I would say, let's not stop it, let's not license it, let's just watch it. That is an incubation space that allows the idea to grow, that will probably disrupt the whole thing. And then the traditional people, the banks, the lenders, whatever.
Shouldn't we welcome disruption?
I think we should welcome disruption, right? Put it in a box, let it work, and whatever it is, look at it, but don't let it become, too big. And then, if you want to regulate it, regulate what you see and what you know. Don't regulate it before it starts, because you might kill it at that point. And that is where Bitang and Demo, and I think, and the previous governor actually opened up the space for M-Pesa.
Right. McPhee?
No, I would agree 100% with Patrick. And I feel that, sometimes, we have people who are retrograde. Thank goodness we had the previous governor when the whole thing of M-Pesa came into being. And it now has, as Patrick was saying, it's something that has changed the whole of Kenya. And I think, in this case here, I would agree 100%. Let it start, let it go ahead, and then let's see whether we need to kill it at some later stage. But I would say, look, this is retrograde, stopping it at this point before it's even born. Let it be, and then let's see what the effect is.
Right. I don't know if Professor Dominic Mwenja will want to comment on this. Maybe I'll just, it's a squeamish one for him, given his position right now. Yeah, I'll cross over to Bill Okero.
No, I think, my challenge, Dibal, about central bank in the last few years. Central bank is a captive of the big banks. Central bank as a regulator has ceased to be independent, really, because there are many. This is not the first one. There are several other similar circumstances where central bank has not really been very independent. For example, on this matter, they had given a provisional approval months ago, and yesterday was supposed to have been the launch.
Yes.
So you wait that afternoon when everyone has set up and people have been invited, and you go there and you send a call and say, stop it. I mean, that's not the way government should run, institutions. I think they had an opportunity when these people applied months ago, and they gave them provisional, so they must have had time to study. So I think
was there a big call that came from somewhere?
Who knows?
There could have been a big call that actually it seems all systems were to go. You're here expected to be launching, and you get a call.
So it's really very unfortunate, because first of all, me as a Muslim, I would welcome any zero interest business. And by the way, they are very clear on what they are doing. They have said we are making our income through charges. This is service delivery. We'll get our money through the services that we'll charge. And we'll share that. There's a revenue sharing formula they'll have between the bank and M-Pesa and the other players. So it's not going to be free, but they're not going to charge interest on the money. They're going to charge you for the service that they're going to give you of accessing money. So I think I agree with you. It's a disruption that should have been taken positively. And you remember, I mean, when all these things came up for losers, the banks are always cautious, and the banks don't want to lose business. And the banks and central bank is there for banks. That's what they always, and that is the unfortunate thing. Our institutions, KRA, central bank, sometimes they forget their role is not just regulatory. They must also facilitate business.
Correct.
And that is the aspect that they always, slip on. And this for me is the most important role really that these institutions should play. I have said, for example, look at central bank. If the bank today says you're a banker, you want a license for a bank, yes, okay, fine. Our requirements are that 30% of your money, please lend to agriculture, or 10% of your money give to SMEs. We want to, at the end of the day, when we audit your books every month, we want to see. There is no requirement. You are giving these people what they want. You're not looking at the economy. You're looking at how to preserve those banks so that they can make profits, and then you come and announce on the end of the year when they make profits. You're very happy. Every sector in the country is collapsed, but the banks have made trillions, and you're happy, and you say the banks have done well. You see, we have done well looking after the banks. I think central bank has lost it. Really.
It's lost.
But let me give you the disruption that is here. Traditionally, you have got a lot of money and you're charging people to access the money. The disruption is going the other way around. I am going to have a lot of customers and I'm going to charge the money to access the customers. That's the disruption. It's just a change in terms of where the need is identified, right? People want customers. And that's what this guy is doing. He's just going to have hundreds and thousands of customers that the money is going to be looking for. And I'll check the money people to access my customers. That's the disruption.
Yeah.
Service delivery.
So service delivery, central bank is just serving its own interests. Yeah, the interests of the banks. So this is a fight between the technos or the telcos and now the banks.
It's a reality
Can we-
of disruption.
It's an okay.
Disruption in technology is going to catch people unawares. And we really have to just, as we've said, let the disruption happen. Once it has happened and we understand what it is and what it's doing, then we come and regulate it.
But how do we read it that from before we've seen central bank has been pushing also for the unbundling of M-Pesa from Safaricom. Even now when they come up with a very innovative idea again, you know, they're being slammed. It seems now you're not really given
I think the unbundling is a different issue. Airtel has just done it. Airtel money has been delinked from Airtel so that they become two businesses. It was actually trying to get away and trying to find a way around this monopoly issue, you know, this dominance issue in terms of the telco market. Because when you look at Safaricom and what is done in that area, if they unbundled M-Pesa and made it to a different company, then the dominance issue will disappear, right? In terms of that, so I think there is a method to that madness. It's a suggestion. Airtel have taken it, and there is easy for them because I think they're present in a lot of African countries, and it makes business sense to do that. For them, and I think it's something that should be considered. When you're in a position that you're a very strong player, sometimes you sort of you still have your big company at the top, and then you unbundle some of them to make them smaller, and allows you to fall under the radar.
Right. Talking about unbundling as well, and even as we're winding up, I can divest unless you want to say something.
Let me comment because I'm on both sides. Let me comment now.
We knew you were going to come somewhere.
Are you sure? We just want to keep your partners dry.
It's a digital disruption, and what we're seeing is the emergence of non-banking financial institutions that were not there in the traditional ways of banking, and therefore disruption will be there. But then the regulator has to figure out how to make sure that some of these disruptions are actually beneficial to the customer. And I'm looking at some of the things that CBK is looking at. Demands that regulated firms provide features, terms of agreement for customers, fees charged on the product, and proof of measures to guard against risk involving the product. And I think it's good to have a look at the disruptions that are coming from the non-banking financial institution, driven by technology, driven by AI and blockchain technology and all that. But then at the same time, we should at some point be able to accept the fact that these disruptions are coming, and they will come and they will continue coming. But the regulator also has a place the regulator has a role and place to play in terms of making sure the customers are safeguarded.
Right.
But we're already doing this, by the way. If you look at what M-Pesa is doing right now, we're already doing this with M-Pesa. The only thing we are saying now, I think from reading what I'm reading here, is they're saying you access fund, but you have to spend this money somewhere. And for you to spend this money somewhere, we're not going to charge you for the money, but you charge the person who is accepting your money to pay that. And I think the regulator has a role to play. We just have to watch the space.
Right. So talking of disruption as well, we have on the ticker there that Kengen is to branch into fertilizer production. State-owned Kenya electricity generating company Kengen has revealed plans to set up a fertilizer plant at a time an acute shortage of the vital farm input is threatening success of the country's crops and could lead to widespread food shortages. Kengen fertilizer, we had KPC, KPC with the fiber optics. People are divesting. We have seen Safaricom also, they're now going to the wealth management. I think that is another product that we're about to launch as well, or it's in the pipeline. All right.
Let me talk about that one tongue in cheek.
Yes.
And let me talk about the technical opportunity that they have. When they get gas, this steam from the ground, sometimes it's got a strange smell.
Yes.
That is hydrogen sulfide.
Yes.
Yeah? So I can actually extract the hydrogen sulfide, which gives me sulfur.
Yep.
And that is one of the things that forms a basis for fertilizer. So it's not a far-fetched idea.
It's not
right?
far-fetched.
It's just basically using what would normally be waste. And this is now creating what you call a circular economy. Right? Then let me stretch that thing a little bit further. So this is waste that they would normally get, and so they're taking, let's get that waste, let's get a stream out of it and commercialize it. Right? And hydrogen sulfide is actually, it can kill you if you're in a space and that is all that you have. About 8% hydrogen sulfide in air, you're dead. So they've seen an opportunity of taking that and extracting it and creating fertilizer out of it. So it's just an extension of their normal business. That's one way of doing it. The other way of thinking about it is that they've been raising a lot of cash as a company, and they're looking at a place that is easy to get into. And fertilizer in this country is a no-brainer. If you get economies of scale, right, you're going to be able to just sell it and across East Africa, because there's nobody actually manufacturing fertilizer here.
Indeed.
So yeah, so I don't know which way they're looking at it, but those are the two ways I'd look at in terms of opportunity, and not unreasonable.
All right.
From my view.
Thank you.
We need to be winding up right now.
Briefly. I have a problem with government starting things. And I have a problem because government is very inefficient in delivery of services. What we should be doing, and I agree with Patrick, it should be another new industry that we are now, a private player coming, because this is a byproduct. And if a byproduct of one for energy generation can create another industry, then I'm all for that. But for government to do the same inefficiencies we find in Kengen, KPLC, we're going to see the same in the fertilizer production and all that stuff. This needs to go to a private sector, somebody who will come and invest to use the byproduct of Kengen.
Thank you.
To produce fertilizer, not Kengen itself.
But it's good actually, it's coming at this providential time. You remember Mumia's with the Mumia bottled water? Yeah, all that steam was just going up the air for the longest time. And sugar in itself is actually the least of the product. The sugar, we should not really go for the sugar itself. Yeah, there's a lot of in-between products that we have, and sugar is the fun. Water was just going up until one day they discovered, oh, this is pure water, we can bottle it and sell it.
Let me tell you,
by the time now they're coming to do that, the market is already taken off.
Yeah. If Kengen has so much money that they need to find somewhere to invest that money, they should be putting that to KPLC distribution or the cost of electricity in this country.
Thank you. Gentlemen, let's just wind up. Let's begin with Bill Okero.
No, I share the sentiments. Government in this country are worried. I mean, if it's a government institution that's largely owned, Kengen is largely owned by government, going into, so it, and what we have seen in this country is the cost of production has made our products very uncompetitive in the region. So fertilizer is available all over the world. So are you going to be competitive given the way our operations are in this country, particularly when it's government owned? So I would be worried about the viability in the long term. Starting is easy, but so I would not be excited about. But there's opportunity for fertilizer. But how many times did we, for the last 20 years, try to establish fertilizer from Kengen up to now? I mean, it's been the story by government. And why has not a private company from the Gulf, where there's a lot of whatever, have they not come to invest? It's all about the government, really, and the cost of trying to get around government. So I don't know, but I'm not excited by it.
Yeah, it's a wait and see.
Yep.
Right. Dr. Buffy, your headline thoughts?
Well, I think Patrick has brought out a very, very important idea. But again, I would agree with my colleagues that probably the best thing to do is to try to get a private company to get in and do the work, because let Kengen, as you say, concentrate on trying to reduce the cost of power to Kenya Power and Lighting, so that Kenyans can then actually have a reduced cost to their power.
Then you can think about fertilizer.
Private sector can
Private
do
sector.
it.
Yeah. Patrick, your final thoughts?
No, I think I share the sentiments here. You know, there's a great idea here. Get private sector to do it, and let Kengen focus on their core business.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
Professor?
Yeah, the same with Patrick. If they have this excess money, look at the tariffs that you charge KPLC for transmission. Lower that tariff. I'll have an impact. Bill wants to start a factory. His power will be much cheaper. So let's build efficiencies within the power distribution itself, instead of trying to get that money into a business that government, they're still going to mess it up. Just get the private sector there is a byproduct, and you'll be able to save this country a lot of money.
Right. Professor Dominic Wenja, the chair of CBK Pension Fund, thank you for coming through. I also want to thank you, Dr. Jim McPhee, who is the director of School of Accountancy at the Strathmore University. Thank you for coming through this morning. Patrick Obath, I want to thank you as well. Engineer Patrick Obath is the chair of KEPSA Foundation. Bill Okero, thank you for coming through this morning as well. He is a businessman and a politician as well, the former chair of the Finance Committee in the Senate, and the senator, former senator of Mandera as well. There's a lot of issues that we've not really discussed, but I think we went off the rails, but was good. But thank you for your input. I really do appreciate it. All right, thank you for your valued company as well. Don't go away. Much more is coming up also on Spice FM, so we'll get you also a handy opportunity to listen in a short while.